You're listening to The Echo, episode
Echo,
19
echo.
for Sunday, October 18, 2015.
This episode brought to you by Star Spangled Subligars, patriotically protecting your precious pouch.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Echo, a Final Fantasy XIV podcast brought to you by FFXIVRealm.com. I'm your host, Fybrile Bardish. You should all probably be familiar with me and Maaja now, who joins me as the co-host. Say hi, Maaja.
Hello.
But this episode, we're really excited to have a new voice for you all to listen to. We're very proud to present to the Realm community and YouTube, Cyn Romanace. Did I say that right?
Yep, actually, you're probably the first person to say it correctly.
What do they usually say? Romance?
Romance. Or, hey, you misspelled romance. Or, hey, epic troll name, how's it going?
You know that Cyn Romance is a pretty awesome name, though, right?
It is, and it's actually the name of my alt on Alexander. Or, not Alexander, Adamantois.
So for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with you around the realm, why don't you take a second to introduce yourself?
For those that don't know me, I am a long-standing member with the Realm Forum, resident tank expert, and possibly a badass in my spare time.
Nice. Old school. You, if we say names like, let me think of one. Joygasm. Who's an old school member? Oh, how about this one? Dan Forthright.
Oh yeah, the Iron Fist clan.
Who else?
Hammer Fist.
We've got Rost Hammer, and we've got, what was Rosty's? Luco, right?
Yeah, Luco, Joygasm, Roston Hammer, Shipwrecker, Dan Forthright. Oh gosh, Dragon. I remember roasting Dragon several times in forum threads.
Yeah, bona fide old school member here. So, we're extremely glad to have you on for the episode today, and to be our bona fide second featured member of the Echo podcast. Welcome.
Why, thank you for having me.
We're also joined, we may also be joined today by Sword and Colossus, both of whom are currently experiencing technical difficulties. I also apparently am experiencing technical difficulties in that I can't get a word out correctly. So, enjoy. Before we get into news, do you guys have any stories this week? Any interesting things happen to you in the world of Eorzea?
Reported for cheating using Living Dead on my Dark Knight in PvP.
Nice. How's that?
Apparently some people don't know that when you pop Living Dead and you die, it triggers a buff called The Walking Dead. And for 10 seconds, you're possibly a badass. So I was fighting, I believe it was a summoner and a scholar. And I had almost had the summoner down when the scholar showed up, and they managed to kill me. But I had popped the Living Dead, and so it triggered the Walking Dead when they killed me. Gave me enough time to finish them both off, and I was promptly after the match because apparently they are residents of Brynhildr server. They had whispered me and accused me of cheating because there was no way that I could stay alive after having reached 0 health. Even though I had explained to them that The Walking Dead is my oh button and it allows me to stay alive for 10 seconds.
Were these your own teammates reporting you, or like from a different grand company? Because can't they not see your name? How did they know it was you?
They were some former Link Shell members that knew me by because my character is actually pretty distinct looking. Like I've got a very red motif going on with my character. So she kind of stands out in a crowd, and I'm pretty sure they had recognized me because I knew them once I saw their names from a former Hunt Link shell that I used to run back in
Oh,
1.0.
I see.
Or not 1.0, 2.0.
Well, that's really nice of them to kind of gang up and gank the person who created their link shell for them. That's awesome.
It's yeah, kind of thought that same way. Probably they're probably bitter about the extended break that I took there at the tail end of 2.0.
I like stories like these. It brings me back to WoW. Finally, some Final Fantasy 14 players are getting into specifically targeting players and killing them for fun, which was just a wonderful part of that game.
That is one of my favorite parts of WoW. Is you find that one who pisses you off, and if you're on a PvP server, you can make their life a living hell.
I don't have much of a story this week. Do you have anything, Maya? Anything interesting happen to you?
Not really. I mean, we planned our 2-year anniversary event, and that's about it.
And we is
Final Dawn on Brynhildr.
not the Echo podcast. We're about to come
Oh.
up to our 2-year anniversary soon, I think, aren't we?
Yes, I
Just
think
a couple
so.
months. Yeah.
Yep.
Um,
Hard to believe it's been that long because it doesn't feel like we've been around for that long.
I'm trying desperately to get 24 episodes in before that happens, just so we can say that we put out an episode every month.
Lies and slander.
Yeah. But here we are after 2 weeks with the second episode. So to you naysayers
Yay.
who say that this podcast isn't consistently...
I wouldn't go so far as to call them naysayers. I would go so far as to call them truth tellers. Really, it's been difficult just because of the scheduling and everybody being busy. It's very understandable, but I think it's important for us as a podcast, if we want to maintain the listeners we have and get new ones, we have to be consistent.
Speaking of getting
That's
new
just my
ones,
opinion.
not to do any kind of self-promotion, but that last episode has already a crazy number. It's got more listeners, that last episode, than the previous one has after like almost 2 months. It's
I
great.
felt like that was a really good show.
I like
I
that
really
show.
did. Yeah, it was just really well done. Everybody, had a good time, and everybody was getting their points in, and it was just a great recorded show, and the editing, did really well too because I know there's a lot of stuff.
Oh, say more about the editing.
Of course.
Um, it also to any of our listeners who haven't heard through the thread, apologies for how long it took, but it is up on YouTube now. Unfortunately, we don't have a video to go with it at the moment. We're still working on exactly what we're going to be doing regarding a video on our YouTube versions of the episode. We're going to be releasing these episodes on FFXIV Realm usually about maybe a week before they appear on YouTube. And we hope that when they appear on YouTube, they'll have something new to check out with some video or whatever. We want to give our Realm listeners kind of the what do you call it? The early access to our
The
episodes.
early access, right?
Yeah. I didn't really have much happen this week because I've been desperately working my way through the level 50 main story quests on an alt. Have you guys ever tried to go through level 50 like twice now? Now that all of those quests are there, they're still there. You still have to go here, there, and everywhere. Still
Not
go through the
now.
dungeons.
I haven't done it since 3.0.
I started
That's
maybe
what you're talking about, right?
yeah.
Since 3. Okay, yeah.
Well, since the end of 2.55, I suppose, because that's where it mostly is. I started this. I restarted this alt. I had gotten the alt past the main story from 2.0, and so I had to do 2.1, 2.2, all the way up to 2.55. Right now, I'm at the what do you call it? Labyrinth of the Ancients. That's where I am right now, and it's
I
taken
did-
forever.
Yeah, I did bring up a warrior on an alt character from the beginning, but it wasn't one that I had to do story, and it didn't take as long when I didn't have to do story. I did that after 2.55.
Did
But it's
you?
still,
Where'd you leave
it
that?
was nothing like.
Where'd you leave that alt off? Like where's
Um,
he? She?
I think I got it to 52 after 3.0 dropped, and then or maybe 51. I don't know. I didn't play much after 3.0 because then I went and played on Gilgamesh, and that was where my time was invested
It's
until
miserable.
now.
It's just really bad. They've got to do something about that. Um, if you're
The
going
amount of
through,
story
oh
quests,
yeah,
yes,
if
there's too many.
it's just, it's good if you're a new player. I don't think you'll really notice or care too much if you're a new player. If you're a new player, you still get some decent exp. If you go through all the main story quests, you're going to be at level 51 by the time you get to Ishgard. So that's helpful for
Yeah,
getting through the new content much more quickly that way. But if you're like me, and I have to assume there are more than me trying to level up an alt, it is mind-numbingly, painstakingly grindy. It's almost worse than me getting the Zeta weapon. It really is, because you're just fast clicking through dialogue and exiting out of cutscenes for no word of a lie. I've done this for like 10 playing hours, and I'm just zooming through this, and it's still 10 hours of exit, click, 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 move to this other zone, click, 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 exit out of a cutscene. It's just way too much. They gotta do something about that. Maybe something where they can flag an account that has, like they did in WoW with the Death Knight, flag an account that has kind of completed it, and maybe they just give you this option. Like, would you like to go through the story again, or would you like to just, you know, maybe fast track through it? It it doesn't work logistically at the moment because you're still going to have to, like, if they did fast track it, you wouldn't unlock a large number of primals and a couple of dungeons, but still,
right.
it's just murderous. Anyways.
I think I was going to say I think the option to completely cut out the dialogue would be a nice one. Just do the quests so you get the questing experience and unlock the dungeons, but not have to sit through all the dialogue scenes and skip them because I think I spent more time just skipping crap than
Yeah.
actual questing.
Absolutely. You're running from place to place and skipping dialogues for 10 hours if you're going from 2.0 to 2.55 in a couple of play sessions. So that sucks. It especially sucks because I'm leveling the alt specifically because I hate my former main class, which is Bard. I've been
Hmm.
trying Paladin. I love Paladin's playstyle. I like it more than Bard, even before Bard's Wanderer's Minuet. So I think I'm going to go Bard. My latency's a little bit better on a Japanese server. Sorry, Paladin. I think I'm going to try tanking out. I think I'm also going to try Astrologian out because I just love everything about that class. But I can't because I've got 10 hours of skipping main story quests. It's punishment is what it is. Uh,
Well, there's something that should be mentioned about the Paladin,
mhm.
level 60
Uh-oh.
for endgame raids. They're not as wanted like they used to be.
Oh, that's okay. I don't think
Yeah.
my skill is high enough to be wanted anyways. I'm
Oh,
happy
shut up.
just being a healer. I healed for years on WoW. It's probably my strength. So I'll give that a try. See if maybe later I can come back to Bard. I gave it an honest go. Maybe the only thing that was interesting that happened to me this week was that I did an expert roulette for the first time on Bard since, I don't know, I want to say August, which is good. Getting back into the grinds. What was interesting about it, though, was it was the absolute first party of Japanese players I had ever been in that tried to speed run. They really don't. They
Wow.
just kill one by one by one by one by one. They're very kind of like strategic, I guess, that way.
Yeah.
However, they really sucked at it, really bad.
Oh no.
They're just not very good at it. And then I went and I did it again with a FC mate as a tank who obviously is very good at it. And they just couldn't keep up with us, especially the healer. So I don't know. I'm going to stereotype here and say Japanese players can't speedrun. There, I said it. Let the flaming begin.
Well,
That'll
I kind
happen.
of have to agree. I keep my duty finder on all nationalities for playstyle,
Mhm.
and I've gotten into some all Japanese groups before, and being a tank and coming from the U.S. servers, you know, the expectation on me is, I can pull the whole room up to the point at which everything is locked out and we have to kill the mobs to advance. So I make these large pulls, and my healer, very diligently trying to explain to me via auto translate that they can't keep up.
Mhm.
Um, it was kind of painstaking because I'm not used to one pull at a time, and so having to slow down my pulling and tanking speeds for people that aren't normally accustomed to those pulls, it's kind of odd.
Yeah. I think what it is mostly it's not even the healer's fault. I think what the big difference is in the DPS. The DPS players like to DPS down a mob and then move on to the next one. It's like they avidly avoid those AOE's that SE gives them. Uh,
Right.
and I never see them AOE ever. Um, except
That's
for
funny.
like Bard's fire. So that's it. That's all. I'm stereotyping. Obviously, there are probably some Japanese players all over the world who are extremely good at speedruns. I just haven't met them yet. So, anyways, that having been said, unless you guys have any more interesting stories, we're going to get into this with some news. Of course, there is no news. um,
There
it,
really isn't.
it's that lifespan in the game, as we talked about last episode. So we're not going to really go into the state of the game or any of the issues. We did, however, miss a couple of things to talk about last episode
Coming with 3.1.
that are coming with 3.1. I hadn't watched the live letter. I haven't watched a live letter since I'm gonna say maybe they announced Shiva. So like was that 2.4? And even then I was pretty sporadic. Do you guys even watch the live letters anymore?
Oh
I
gosh.
haven't.
So
I
you
think
have
I've
me
seen
beat.
one.
My last live letter I watched was the introduction of the initial concept for the binding coils of actually the Great Labyrinth of Bahamut before it became the binding coils of Bahamut.
Yeah. Yeah.
Still really, really butthurt that the Great Labyrinth of Bahamut didn't become a thing.
I don't know. I wonder who watches those. If you guys are still watching the live letters religiously and you're not paid by
I know
Steam
people.
or YouTube to do so, man, I would love to hear from you.
Does Colossus watch them regularly?
I don't think so. I mean, it's just a lot of hype, 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 hype. Does Reinhardt?
I think
I haven't seen Reinhardt forever. Is it official that he doesn't do it anymore?
no idea. I think Helena Handbasket watches them religiously,
I don't even know
and
who
I'm
that
pretty
is.
sure he's not. He's a member at the forums. Basket Case is his name at
Oh
the
yeah, I
forums.
know who
He's in
that
our
is.
free company. Okay. He does. I think he watches them regularly, religiously. It's something he can do.
Well, I'm really glad that there are still players that have that kind of fanboyish enthusiasm about it. Yeah. I kind of stopped watching it when I stopped when Reinhardt stopped translating them. I know they're much better about translating the notes now. They've got the captions on the YouTube channel very shortly after the live letter is released, and I think that it's Mr. Happy does like a live translation, or at least he posts a live translation. I've seen like posts around saying that he's got one.
I think so.
I just can't be bothered to watch anything from Mr. Happy.
I like Mr. Happy.
I like everything about him but his name. If he's Mr. Happy, I would be Mr. Sardonic.
Yeah,
They
that
sound
would be
more like Mr.
fitting.
Brown
It would be
Face.
very fitting.
I should just rename myself Mr. Sardonic, and
Right.
then our
then you
listeners
guys
and
should have a
YouTube
debate.
can have like two different perspectives. Yeah,
That would be good. Good. Oh God, that would be so great.
he could
Actually,
definitely
I
use
was on-
somebody with a perspective.
I
Oh
was.
snap!
I was. Oh yeah, that's a burn. I actually saw him on my server once when I was playing on Gilgamesh. I didn't say anything to him or go up to him or anything like that, but I saw him, his little Lala body with his name, Mr. Happy.
Nice.
Like, oh look, there's Mr. Happy.
You sound like that fangirl that's like, oh my god, I saw my idol, but I didn't say anything.
That was totally me in
Nah.
1.0 with Brian from Aetherite Radio. Who
Oh,
we
you
had
were
on.
so fanboy when he
Oh.
came on the show.
And we really pissed him off because we were so negative. I feel like he really didn't enjoy his time with us, which is a real shame because I'm probably his biggest fan.
I don't
Kind of.
know.
Sorry, I'm gonna switch gears here for like just a second. Fanboying and fangirling over, your in-game idols and stuff. I actually got to duel Bajira once in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
I actually fought him in an arena and I won.
So did that kind of diminish your fanboyishness, knowing that you could beat him?
No, because it was an extreme fluke because I believe he was lagging because his character was kind of jerking around on the screen. But I took full advantage of it and I stomped him and then I ran into him again and got demolished.
Oh, all respect renewed, restored.
But I can
I'm
say I have beaten Bajira in an arena.
yes.
So
I'm definitely not a fangirl of Mr. Happy though. I just saw him in Idleshire and I was like, oh, there's Mr. Happy. There was really
who's
nothing
one
more.
Final
than
Fantasy personality that you would be a fanboy about if you saw them in game?
Oh gosh.
I don't really know a whole lot. I really don't know who I would. I don't know. If I saw one of the developers or Yoshi P in game, then I'd freak out a lot.
Yeah.
I
But
don't know.
I
I have to say I would probably fangirl over actually meeting Fybrile in game because after all the years that I have been a member of this forum, Fybrile still insists on playing, over on those other realms.
Yeah. When the game went live, everybody went to Midgard, right? Midgard Sommer.
Yeah, everyone. Yeah, I think even Najla and the Oblit went to Adamantois, and I think they've been there ever since.
Originally, I thought they were over on Midgard and moved to
No,
Adamant.
they were gonna come, but then in the initial formation of the guild that I was in with Joygasm, there was a bit of a issue, if I remember right, and they decided to just go to Adamantois instead.
Yeah. Adamantois was.
I got to play with Joy.
I played on Adamantois for a while. I don't know why I don't go on the same server. You know what it is? All right, I'll explain to everybody. I think if there's one thing I do on the forums that maybe pisses people off more than anything else, it's refuse to acknowledge that there's an official server for our forums. The reason for that is because even though clearly many, if not most, of our currently active players or members of the realm are currently on Brynhildr, I feel like it would stagnate the community if we said, all right, FFXIV Realms official server is Brynhildr, like they've done at Gamer Escape or Mr. Happy. Of course, if you're a fan of Mr. Happy, you're probably going to go on Gilgamesh. The reason is specifically because we lost like 2/3 of our active members. This was something that Vamped and I really agreed on. We lost like 2/3 of our active members whenever drama would happen. Everybody went to Midgard Sommer. Drama happened on Midgard in-game. Spills over to the realm. We lose, some really awesome active members because they just don't want to see those players they were disagreeing with again.
Deal with it, yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, Brynhildr seems to be a bit of a different scenario. I'm keeping a close eye on it.
It kind of is.
Because you
I
guys
think
seem so
part of it-
friendly and happy.
I think part of it is because we're not all in the same FC.
Mhm.
We all
Right.
have our own places on the server, I
Yeah.
think that has a big role in why there's, no drama and no craziness. We get along because we can just run stuff every now and again. We don't have to be in each other's faces for the personalities that don't quite mesh.
Yeah.
You have
Right.
those differences, and I think that makes a difference.
And I think my
But I also
the
go ahead.
well, I was
Sorry.
to say, not to toot my horn or shameless plug, but the Realm Forum link shell that I set up on Brynhildr, I think has really
It's a great
gone a
idea.
long way because it's allowed everyone to keep in touch, and it's this place where it's all your friends from the realm, but you can turn them off if you want to.
I don't think it's necessary. This is what I was going to say. I don't think it's necessary to claim a server for the realm. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think that everybody should be able to play where they want to play, and we don't have to, uh, you know, give ourselves a server name here at the realm. I think it could be people from everywhere
I
because we've
guess.
got great players from all different servers.
Yeah. I remember he has been quiet recently, but we had a very active member, Delta 5FF, who was on Masamune, which is where I currently am. We have Sword, who's on Hyperion. We've got you guys who are on Brynhildr. I like that part of our community.
Yes.
Why I don't head over to Brynhildr, I don't know. I've never actually been asked. There's that.
Yes,
I
you
guess
have.
especially
I
now.
asked you a long time ago.
That was
I asked
Gilgamesh.
you. No, it was also Brynhildr because I
Really?
still
Right.
played on Bryn.
Oh.
Well, then here we'll turn this into a very one-sided poll
It is.
here. So everyone present here in the podcast that thinks Fybrile should come to Brynhildr, say aye. Aye.
I
Oh.
You're outvoted. I'm sorry.
All right. I'll make a character on
I think
Brynhildr.
because of the type of player you are, I think you'd actually enjoy Final Dawn because there is no pressure on endgame anything,
Oh no no no!
and we
What
cater.
is? Oh, y'all, everybody. Sorry, there was a little
No,
giant
no,
Easter
no.
egg there.
No, it's
I
not
am
about that.
such a hardcore end gamer. I would love to get into parsers. Oblit is the one that I have met so far that I know is got the same kind of mentality as me. When I was over on Adamantoise, he was just kind of coming off of a really hardcore end game schedule. That's me. I want to get into um, doing those savage modes before the echo buff gets on them. I'd love to be part of this group of what 8 people that know each other, know each other's moves. That's what I live for. I just haven't been able to find them.
Well, you should do it then. You should go and join Cyn's raid group
Yeah, we'll
for
talk.
real.
We'll talk.
The
But back to 3.1. We've got. Hold on. Let me pull it up here.
exploratory missions was something that you mentioned
Exploratory missions. Now,
pre-show.
let's
Yes.
let's assume that our listeners are already familiar with exploratory missions. You get on your airship, you go to an island, you get to explore that island and do a lot of awesome things that sound a lot like the best parts of Final Fantasy XI. Am I wrong?
To me, what they're offering really kind of harkens back to like what was at the time the heart and soul of 11. Um, and for anyone not really familiar with 11, what that entailed was in the leveling process, you would spend most of your time in Juno and you would look for a party. Well, you find your party and then you go out and you essentially explore, the world, whether you're running through the open world, to find a spot to, grind out the mobs to gain your levels, or if you're running through sea, to get to the bosses and whatnot, or even oh gosh, what was the name of the tree? The Boyata tree. There we go. Um, but anyways, what it was just like this overwhelming sense of adventure. You were out there in the world exploring and doing stuff as a team rather than all these solo missions and sitting around with party finders and dungeon finders and not really interacting with anything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it sounds like what they're trying to do is make these exploratory missions kind of recapture that aspect of 11 that has been lost with all these convenient innovations to make things quicker. So what they're, essentially reintroducing is, the random spawn notorious monsters that 11 had. So you'll have, just periodically a named monster, pops up. It's kind of like at a boss level, in terms of difficulty, and you run in there with your, from what I understand, a full party, and then for some, an alliance. Like you'll actually need to get together with other full parties to take these down, and even going so far as to some of them awarding like actual loot, which is completely new to I think Final Fantasy 14 in that nothing actually drops like actual usable items in the open world. So that'll be kind of neat to see how they pull that off too.
I level 210 loot, which is on par with what?
The new currency and I believe the upgraded Gordian
Yes,
armor.
yeah. So they haven't really said where these drop from. They also said that you can exchange things that you don't like for, guess what? Points. More tokens. But
Points. Oh.
yeah, more tokens from these islands. Different tokens, new tokens. That's great.
Bleh.
But also rare items, equipments, other that you can gather on these islands. So I don't think I'm going to mind these tokens. I think these tokens are probably the right way to do it. You get something through RNG, you don't like it, you exchange it for the tokens. That's a great way to do it. They're saying that H&M monsters are also going to be on this island. Are those what we would classify as like A class and S class hunts?
Hunts.
Is that what they're calling H&M monsters?
Yes and no. You have the hunt class monsters, the A ranks and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
that we currently have. The HNM, and the NM, that comes from Final Fantasy 11 being the notorious monsters, and I believe if I remember right, it's been so long, it's heroic notorious
Yeah.
monsters, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but they're essentially boss and mini boss. That's how it was explained to me way back in 11. Was it's kind of like mini boss is a notorious monster, and a heroic notorious monster is the ones that you would need a full raid for.
So what do you predict? Do you predict that these NMs, H&Ms are going to be like hunts or like fates or like something else? The difference being hunts, you kind of beg to get into a party, and then people just zerg around the island as soon as somebody parses out what the timers are, and it kind of loses its luster very quickly. Fates, it's a
I
little
hope
bit
they're not
more.
like that.
Yeah, me too. Fate's just a little bit more random. Anybody can join as long as you can get in, but they're a little bit easier. They're actually probably a lot easier, except for a couple notable exceptions. You think it'll be like Odin or Behemoth?
I've got kind of like that mixed perspective. Like as I said earlier when we were talking, the nostalgia fangirl in me wants it to be exactly like it was in 11. A very difficult fight that just sits out in the open world that has mechanics that you have to know how to work through, and you sit there with your raid actually fighting a true open world boss. But then the realist in me says, nah, they're probably going to end up like hunts where
Yeah.
they hit really hard and you have to dodge an AoE, but you can easily just
There's no
bring
real
a shitload
mechanics.
of people. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope that's not how they are. I really
I'm
do. I
I'm
really
I'm
would like the more mechanic driven.
I would love
Um,
to see like the rehash of the Final Fantasy 11 NMs, H&Ms. Some of them were passive, so you could walk right up to them. If you hadn't played 11, those NMs would be like noticeably awesome. Like they were visually wicked. And some of them you could walk right up to, and some of them you wouldn't want to even be in visual distance of. Um,
like the first time I walked into Chimera by myself before it was duty found. That
what
was
I'm
me.
mostly concerned
I
about
didn't
is
know I could do that.
this issue of equipment dropping from them. If the equipment does in fact drop from them, if equipment drops from them, then it's probably not going to be like a hunt, and it's certainly not going to be just like Final Fantasy XI's style, because they just wouldn't do that to players. They wouldn't say, all right, there's one content, you can get a party to tag that H&M, and then you don't get anything from it. They'll make it
Right.
open for everybody so nobody complains, in which case it would most likely be like a Fate, like a Odin. I think.
It would be okay if they had good mechanics built into the fight, and if it wasn't so tough that we would all die. Well, I actually wouldn't mind dying a couple times learning it, but
There's a couple
or
fate
having a new
bosses
group
that are
come
pretty
along.
awesome, mostly in Coerthas.
Yes, the
That dragon has some
Gorthmer
pretty cool
Savara.
mechanics. Yeah, with all of the ads and all of the.
Well, there's a workaround for that. You just pull Svara over to
Yeah,
the side,
I've seen that.
Yeah.
and you
But
don't.
that's the great part about
Yeah,
playing. It's a difficult fight until you learn it so well you know how to manipulate it. That's what
yeah.
these games should be like.
I
I have to
remember the
say,
days before.
the eyes have it. That is,
That's
I think, by far the
yes.
most difficult fate. There's no way to bug it. There's no way to cheat it. You
Yeah.
have
It's
no
the same with the Chimera in Northern Thanalan. You can't do that one either that way. You have to fight that one, and
right.
there's a ton of ads.
The other thing that we got in common with 3.1 is Lord of Verminion, which they're saying is a you know what? To be quite frank, I should have been paying a lot more attention to this because it sounds like it's going to be a little bit or a lot more interesting than I was giving it credit for. We were kind of expecting like Pokemon, but in reality, it's going to be more like a real-time Tactics Ogre or Final Fantasy Tactics, which is essentially the same game. Um, Real-time versus turn-based. They spent a lot of time to kind of clarify that this wasn't going to be turn-based like Final Fantasy Tactics was. Real-time, I don't know. That's going to be interesting. I've never played a real-time strategy game. I don't think, unless they're talking
Um,
about things like Age of Empires or
well,
StarCraft.
you played Final Fantasy IX, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Final Fantasy IX used real-time combat, which, if you noticed, like even though it seemed like you were turn-based, like if you didn't like do anything
Hmm.
on nine, the bosses
I
would keep
remember.
hitting you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So essentially, you've got like these timers in which you can execute attacks, and if you just miss a timer, you lose out on that action.
More or less, yeah. So like if you're sitting there like making your choice of what you want to do, your opponent or whatever you're playing is still actively moving around the board and coming to attack you. So I mean, if you take a minute to make a move, that is a minute worth of extra actions that you have essentially wasted that your opponent has made like 5 or 6 moves.
Hmm. Not to be a pessimist, but if they create any kind of tournament system for this, like they did with the triple triad minigame, wouldn't that type of mechanic like make it much easier for a player to just AFK and let his partner win, so stack his points?
It could. I imagine if they were smart, what they would do is they would put a system in that if you haven't made a move after X amount of time, it just ends the match and no one gets points.
Oh, that would be great. That would be SC. I hope you're listening. Seriously, that would really fix it.
So there's because
Or at least
forget what.
give the winner points, the person who was there points, just in case the other person, legitimately went AFK,
Right.
but greatly reduced. They said there's going to be 4 different modes, and then they listed 5: tutorial, challenge, training, battle, and tournament. So there definitely will be tournaments for Lord of Verminion. They showed some screen caps of it in the live letter that we just straight up missed on the last episode. Apologies to our listeners. Um, it, that looks like a lot of minions.
That
I
it
have to say,
does.
I think my only big concern with it is I know certain minions will probably be better than other minions, and the demand for those will go up. So they're
Yes.
going to
Oh, I know.
turn a novelty side of the game, minion collecting. Everybody likes minion collecting. Even if you don't pull them out, people still like to have those minions. But some of them, I think that were once obtainable. I couldn't get it to drop it. Now I can buy it. I
Hmm.
think you're going to see a very steep, sky rocket in their price, to where now only a select few are able to afford them. if
Yeah,
not farm them.
they've got all the different. They showed kind of an example of, I think it was the Puff of Darkness having stats and things like that. So some minions are at the very least are going to be better at some things than others, and that'll increase demands. SE can work around the the notable issues with that when it comes to the player economy simply by making, frankly, some of the most powerful or most desirable minions some of the most common ones, and these other ones
Less
like the
random.
bluebird or the red panda, just making them more ordinary so that their 1 million gil price currently doesn't skyrocket to 5, 6, 10 million gil. They
Right.
like
Just make
that.
them
They
less random as a drop, make them drop more frequently because that's the reason that they're so expensive.
they definitely won't do that. They've said specifically on a live letter before this past one that they like that some players frankly just won't get all the minions. They like that this is the only content in the entire game that not everybody will kind of be able to complete.
Huh.
They said that straight out. Somebody asked them in one of the Twitter questions, like, "Will you make some of the minions more obtainable, or can we purchase them on the cash shop, or will the drop rates be increased?" And they said, "No, no, no."
Well,
Wow.
it's like some of the anniversary ones, like Shantoto, unless they do a rehash of the Final Fantasy 11 event, not everybody will be able to get Shantoto. So,
Yeah.
like, depending on how powerful she is, a lot of players are going to miss out on having her on their team.
Well,
Um,
yeah, but like if they do it the way Fybrile said and make those more that you might imagine might be more powerful, more ordinary, then that's not going to really factor in as much. Make the ones that are easier to obtain a little more powerful and the ones that are harder to obtain, and everybody has equal footing
right.
One of my
in
favorite
the game.
questions on the episode that I was really sick on, the terrible episode 17, was like, what would your one minion be? But now we see that it's a team of minions. So have you guys thought about like what your team will be before we know anything about it? Have you kind of imagined what your favorite team would be? As an example, I'm going to start. I want to go with full Mandragoras. The whole Mandragora crew. Have you seen those minions? Like the
They're
princess and the
awesome.
knight? Have you seen
Yes,
their cute little captions? It tells like a
they're
story.
adorable.
It's like a soap opera. The
I
knight
haven't.
loves
I
the
don't have them.
queen, but the
Yeah, I
the
don't have them, so I don't know their story.
yeah.
I'm actually going to fight with the wind up scions.
Nice, nice, good.
Yep.
Those are
So
good. That's a good choice.
A
my
patron
my
of the cash
team,
shop.
not the cash shop ones. Like I haven't bought any of them, so I think my team right now is going to be Sid, Alphino, Minfilia, Thancred, and Yigiri.
Cool. Oh,
Good.
hey, I'm
Good.
sorry to use the podcast to learn things myself, but seriously, how do you get that Yugiri one? Do I have that one from the story quest or?
You should.
You, I I don't. Was she part of the story quest, or was she a veteran
I
award?
have no idea. I
She
saw.
might be a vet reward. I'm not positive, but I know I have her.
All right, I'm going to go sub another
Yeah.
90 days as soon as I finish this podcast, see if I get it. It was her that they
Yeah.
used as the example. By the way, not the Puff of Darkness. It was the Yugiri minion, and I hadn't seen it before, and it just looks awesome, and I absolutely love that character.
If I had to pick um, a group, I haven't thought about it until you just brought it up, but I would pick like the small animals, the
Like the red
cute,
panda.
ugly duckling. I like the tiny tapir, the little elephant looking. I don't know what that thing is, anteater. I don't know, but the little animals, the little baby animals,
Hmm.
they look so cute. That would be my group because they would be intimidating.
If I could
I'm
add one character to my little minion collection, like if I needed one more after the Mandragoras, I gotta go. I mean, any smart player's got to go Odin because, frankly, Odin's already out there killing every minion he sees.
Right?
His passive is just killing other minions that walk by him. Have you seen that?
Yes,
no.
it's
I
funny.
I have wind up Odin, but I've never put him out.
Yeah, just go and pull him out. Stand in, whatever city state with someone else who has a minion out. Just wait, and then he will attack that other minion.
Yep.
Oh, that's awesome.
What about the mammoths? Don't they fight?
I have not seen. I've never actually even pulled out a mammoth.
I think they fight each other. Like opposing GCs will fight each other or
I think
something
the
like
Grand
that.
Company mammoths will go and fight each other.
Yeah.
Just to wrap up news and move this show along, the patch 3.1. When I saw the screen caps from the live letter, my excitement for this game and my hope for that content patch specifically skyrocketed. Exploratory missions, the Void Arc, which we haven't even talked about, which kind of looks pretty awesome.
It does.
Really
I have
black
one-
and purple. It's all my personal theme colors as Mr. Sardonic.
Let's say I have one thing to say about Void Arc.
Mm-hmm.
Steampunk costumes. I'm sold.
Yes, the new
Wow.
gear looks awesome. I can't tell if
I
any
didn't
of
get a chance to
those.
look.
I've got whatever screen caps we could find up on the Realm thread right now. And we just we just got a reply to our media. Someone just commented on the last episode right in the middle of recording this one, so that's great. I can't tell if any of those are barred. I don't think any of them are. Anyways, I was going to wrap this up. We've got the Void Arc coming, so we've got like 2 weeks of pretty awesome, challenging content, and then 2.5 months after of trolls and farming it. But I've always found farming the raids to be more enjoyable than farming the dungeons.
I think so too.
Exploratory missions, which I don't know if I mentioned earlier, but you will also be able to go either as a party or solo. So, like, if you don't really have a very active FC, it shouldn't really impact your ability to enjoy this content, which I like. We've got the Lord of Verminion game, and I just love strategy games, and I'm fairly certain that if this isn't terrible, that's probably going to be what carries me through to the next update. And the last thing is Afros, which just look terrible, just awful.
I agree. Yes.
So are you guys properly looking forward to this new patch? Do
I
you
am.
think it's worth the wait, or going to be worth the
I
wait?
think. Well, I'm not going to say it's going to be worth the wait till after we get into it because you don't know until you do it. Like I thought Heaven's Ward was going to be worth the wait, but we've had so much downtime. It really, I don't know if it was actually worth the wait. We talked about that already. Though.
Yeah,
Oh gosh.
I think it will be.
I think
I
Haven's
think it might
Word
be.
was worth the wait from the story standpoint. I really,
Story standpoint,
really love
yes.
the story.
I don't really. I really.
Yeah, yeah. I actually really liked the story. It was really good. Oh my god, the Dark Knight story. Love the Dark Knight story.
That was a great story. Yes.
I
That
found like
is
the
a great
most
story so
interesting
far,
parts
Matt.
of the
I'm
story,
glad
though,
that
they
it's
just
good.
glossed over. Like, what's his name? Help me out here. Grand Company, Immortal Flames. Dude lost an
Oh,
arm.
Raban,
Ralbon's
Ralban.
storyline.
right? Well, I don't think it was necessarily glossed over. I think there's still a lot more to come from it because at this point, like you're still kind of working your way back into being trusted. Like they took care of, I think, what was the bigger issue at the time. The Holy See and what they were doing.
But
So I think.
even that's
with-
not finished.
Oh no, it's not 100% finished, but they did get kind of under wraps. So I think with the new patches that come out, we'll probably see a lot more of us venturing into like Ul'dah, and especially trying to figure out, are all the Scions dead?
Not to be an antagonist, and I really don't mean to be, but I don't pay $60 to $100 in a subscription-based game for an episodic main story. It's great that they're putting out these content patches. I like it. Excuse me. But frankly, the story should have been complete, and the content patches should have been kind of the next part, don't you think? Like, $60 to $100 is a lot of money for some people, especially people who play video games.
Right. It is, but at the same time, like I spent so many years playing World of Warcraft where once you hit, max level, that was it until the next raid came out, and then they continued a little bit of the story. Whereas with this game, I feel like my money is actually better invested because every patch brings out something for me to do in game.
Yeah,
Because
but
there's more story, there's more raiding, it's just more actual, I guess, story wise character progression
I
is
don't
what you're
think
seeing.
anybody would have said that World of Warcraft was a story-driven MMO. It was a gameplay-driven MMO. People go in there to get into the raiding and the PvP, the dungeons. Like you play WoW, maybe except for like Wrath of the Lich King, because we all wanted to see what happened at the end of that storyline that started in Warcraft 3. But aside from that, like it it had a story, but it's not as story focused as Final Fantasy XIV was. So
Right.
probably the reason why I just feel it was incomplete was because the main story was pretty incomplete. The side quests were completely irrelevant
Hmm.
to the main quests, and the main quest itself isn't finished. We don't know where most of the Scions currently are. We haven't really concluded the Holy See story arc. Like, the Ascians weren't even mentioned, and they dropped this huge bomb on us about dude what loved Moonbreda. What's his name? It just
Uh,
completely escaped my mind.
Urianger?
Yeah,
yeah,
that's it.
Eorzean.
Well done, Maya. Urianger. His whole thing about dealing with the Ascians, correct me if I'm wrong, but it wasn't even mentioned. $60 for this. $60. I'm already paying a sub. I don't know. I don't think it was worth the money. I think it was good. I just don't think it was expansion good. New game good. That's what an expansion is. It's a new version of the
A
game.
whole new game. Yeah.
Right.
I don't
Well,
know. I'm not trying to be
uh,
a cynic.
I
I'm
get
just
where you're coming from. I think, but I think I view it more as a whole, not
mhm.
just the story, not just the content, not just the new jobs. It's just as everything. It doesn't feel like a whole expansion. It doesn't feel like it gave us everything that an expansion that I'm used to getting out of an expansion. I don't know.
I will just I'll stop complaining about it then. I won't even mention it ever again, and I'll acquiesce and just say that SC's really lucky to have this fan base
Yes,
because another game just wouldn't be able to get away with this.
it would die.
Mhm. I agree, and I think one of the things that SC has done right is um, the story with the Scions is overarching between everything, and I think it will continue on. But there'll also be kind of like that side main story to the expansion too. Like the Holy See, I think will conclude once we're moving on to the next expansion. Whereas the stuff with the Scions, that will progressively be what carries you from one expansion to the next.
Yeah, they're clearly doing this like Game of Thrones type of storytelling where like there are multiple story arcs and one finishes, another one begins, and they're all finishing at different periods of time. I guess maybe I'm just not used to that form of storytelling in video games. If they're going to go with that style of storytelling, it's just impossible for them to complete all of the story arcs. Um,
It's funny that you mentioned Game of Thrones though, because I really do feel like they go in the Game of Thrones route because F them for killing Horshathon. Just say.
as a wrap up to news, you get a portrait for him. And was there any news yet on whether or not the shield would make an appearance?
I haven't heard anything on the shield, but it would be kind of a nice touch, I think, to allow, since they gave you the shield, to allow it to become either a decorative piece or maybe even a usable item skin for paladins.
One of the Twitter questions for Yoshi P in a live letter was this exact question. He said he was open to it, so hopefully shortly, maybe with 3.1, we'll get to see that shield starting to be plastered all over the paladins of the world. Well, that being said, that's it for news. That was an extremely long news segment for, for a period of time that had absolutely no news. Let's move on to Loremaster. We actually had a winner, like a bona fide, answered all three questions winner from our last Loremaster, Cyn, on pretty much the very last day before we recorded this episode and the contest closed out. Got all three questions right. The last theme, the theme for Loremaster in our last episode was food, from Eorzea.
Cyn Rainfire. Yay. Congrats, Cyn.
She was able to answer what the name of the culinarian guild, the restaurant in Limsa was called, the Bismarck. She was able to give us all of the ingredients for a meat kebab. She was even able to say that there was more than just the one, which was my bad. So bonus points for that. And she was able to go and give us the name of the admiral that made the culinarian guild in the past, which I'm not even going to try to pronounce.
Right. Those Rogadan names are something else.
Yeah.
The sea wolves, really.
I think you're supposed to say it quickly and slur your speech, and then it comes out to be real words. I think that's what the point is. But
just like a drunken pirate, right?
Yeah. His pirate name is Mass Cleaver, so congratulations, Cyn, for winning the last Loremaster. I've already sent her minion. So for yet another minion, or $5 of other Mog Station cash shop items, yeah, I present to you guys episode 19's Loremaster. Our theme for this Loremaster is my personal favorite theme. That's the sardonic part of me. Bards.
Whoosh, whoosh.
So, again, to those of you who don't know or might be listening the first time, I asked these three questions. It's a little game I play with the listeners. I asked these three questions, and the first person to post the answer to these lore-related questions on the realm, either in our thread or in the comments section of the actual episode, wins your choice of $5 of cash shop goodness. Question number one, the easiest question, is at level 60, how many songs are in a bard's repertoire? How many songs does a bard know? Or let's say can use as a skill. Question number two, slightly more difficult. Why has the bard job trainer lost his will to be a bard? And the last question, the most difficult question, is who is the leader of the God's Quiver in Gridania? Post the answers to these three questions and be the first, and you win. I didn't mention that enough last episode. I'm glad only one person even tried to win the Loremaster from episode 18, because I don't think I mentioned, like, it is first come, first win. If you are only
I don't
able,
think you did either.
If you're only able to answer one or two, by all means, try anyways, because by the time we do the next episode, we'll just go with the person who is closest. I really want to kind of spread the minions around. So,
spread the love.
Yeah. So if you guys only know one or two answers, by all means, still post the answers to them. You might just win. Brash Torque won a couple times just for that very reason.
Yes,
Again,
did.
Congratulations, Cyn. We're looking forward to seeing all the bards pipe up to try to win this Loremaster.
Please do.
It is time for us to take a break and listen to another Final Fantasy XIV cover. Our hot topic today comes from the realm. We've finally gotten back to choosing hot threads from around the realm to feature on this show for our hot topic. It comes from an evolution of the "Where does each class stand in 3.0" thread, started by Skylock just about a week ago. It started off as a fairly, I don't want to say ordinary, a true to its title thread, where people try to describe to a player coming back after a long hiatus what each class, especially each DPS class, is like in 3.0. And it's kind of evolved since then into a pretty awesome hot topic about DPS in endgame raids. As the one who's probably most familiar with it, Cyn, would you mind explaining to us what our hot topic is this episode?
Well, as you had said just a moment ago, it really kind of took on a life of its own, and it was actually kind of an interesting derailment of a thread where we went from discussing, where everyone stood, just number-wise is about who had the best output, to more of a focus about where the game is going with DPS versus, like the mechanics of a fight. And some of the interesting points that have been made is that the game seems more focused on DPS windows instead of the actual mechanics that have been kind of introduced along the way. And I've kind of noticed this, especially with some of the in-game rating that I've been doing. One of the things you guys are probably familiar with that they introduced a while back was if you bring multiples of the same class, the limit gauge fills a lot slower. Well, a lot of people have gone to now bringing multiples of the same class simply for their numbers output and ignoring the fact that it makes the limit gauge fill slower and that you don't actually get that big level 3 DPS limit break in favor of just the overall higher numbers that certain classes are churning out. And they're really turning it more into a deal of bring the class, not the player kind of situation that World of Warcraft suffered from for many years and still does in part. And so that has kind of been the big topic of debate now is where's the class going with DPS versus, the actual utility of the classes and what they're supposed to do.
So essentially, like, enrage timers are making it so that class, like parties or statics, are bringing specific types of DPS classes over others just to beat the content.
Yeah, I'm looking at a post that you made in this particular thread, and what you say here is why bother with AST or Scholar when White Mage can heal and produce better DPS numbers. It's not game breaking, but making endgame rather limited. That's the part about it that I could agree with. I mean, that's just the last sentence. You say more about it before then, but that's what you're talking about, right?
Right, is the output versus the mechanics and the utility. Right. And one of the issues I have encountered is Paladin. No one wants to really take a Paladin to in-game raid. Right. Why take the tank that, they have the best possible mitigation and the best possible utility for a tank? Why bring them, though, when a warrior and a Dark Knight can mitigate not quite as well, but sufficiently enough, but they also bring a higher damage output? And same with, healers. Why bring the Astrologian and the Scholar, which, bring a certain amount of mitigation that is really nice for the tanks.
Yes, it is.
And when you can, just overheal with heal over times and very large healing abilities, but then also have a higher damage output than the other two healers. And so a lot of what I've been seeing raid-wise is 2 warriors and 2 white mages filling up those slots, where they're completely ignoring the other classes just due to their damage output is what people are looking at.
So what, as somebody who's not into like the savage modes or the proper static end game raids yet, what fights specifically is this an issue with? What fights are your DPS checks in Final Fantasy XIV 3.0?
Well, pretty much. Like one of the big ones is Ravana, and
Yeah.
I use Ravana because it has one of the very well-known DPS checks with having to break his warlord shell that he puts up. If you don't break it in time, he one-shots
Wipes
the party.
raid. Yeah.
That's
And you have
That's a crazy experience too.
that's awesome, though.
it-
That's awesome. It's so much different than anything else we experience in 2.0, frankly.
right, but one of the issues that I see with it is this: the shell is put up, and I'm no stranger to fights that have these kind of deals where a boss puts up a shield, you break the shield, otherwise he's able to unleash an ultimate ability. That's been a mechanic in MMOs for a long time. The fact is, he does it on top of a secondary shield that really seems almost unnecessary to be up at that point in time. And what it is like if you hit him anywhere except for one specific part that's open, you get knocked back, you get slow put on you, and then they make it completely impossible.
It
Like
does.
That's awesome.
It is and it isn't.
It is and it isn't, because like if you have one DPS that is affected by the slow,
You
then
can't do
you're
it.
not gonna,
You can't,
you're
you're
not
right.
going to break the shield.
I am all for that.
Well, not
That
just
is
that.
hardcore endgame rating right there.
Not
That is
just
exactly what it should be.
I
Right.
have
Well-
there's more to it too, because just before he does this shield, he does something called double prey. And a lot of people die in double prey sometimes. I mean, not all the time,
And
but
why is that? Because I haven't done this fight. Why is that?
because the double prey has to be passed to other people.
Yeah.
I still
So
don't
players
understand
have
the
to
fight.
successfully do another mechanic before this mechanic
Right.
and do a DPS race.
And if one DPS
Wonderful.
dies and has to be raised, you have weakness and you cannot get through
Don't
that
die.
shield.
Get
Yes.
good.
That fight is really chaotic when you don't know it well. When you first go into it, there's so much going on that you have to understand about the fight. And I remember watching the video and even reading the guide, and I'm like, oh my god, that's just so much stuff, because there really is a lot.
Yeah.
I still don't
Right.
understand it, and I've spent probably 8 or 9 hours in it, and even the double prey. We had a good friend of the FC's come in with us, King Opa, from the Onion Knights on the Brynhildr server, and he was calling stuff out to us. That helped me understand double prey for the first time, because he was telling us what to do and where to go and why. And that was, okay, now I get it. But then it's getting to the point where you're comfortable doing what you're supposed to do. So there's a lot to the
That's
entire
what it's
fight.
like in other MMOs. That's what the fights are like, and they're all like that, except that they all have different mechanics. The players have frankly been having. I mean, I come from a limited experience because I wasn't involved in the endgame progression of the coils of Bahamut. So that notwithstanding, there haven't been a lot of fights like that. Remember when Turn 5 really kicked
Yes.
everybody's ass for months?
Turn 1 did. Turn 2 did. They all did in the beginning.
Right.
I don't mind that fight at all. That fight, as far as the DPS check goes, sure, it's a little tougher and it takes some learning, and I'm okay with that. What I don't like, and this is my example of the DPS check, is Faust in A1 Savage, because everybody has to put out as much DPS as they can. That includes the healers, that includes the tanks, that includes everybody. That's the one, because
that's your gear and skill check, though.
Everything. There's
A
all
lot
these
of
ads
raids.
that one I don't like, because that one is just a straight up DPS check. You have these ads that keep popping. The damage to the tank is incredible, and you have one healer that has to focus healing and the other one that has to focus DPS. It just makes it very difficult. We did clear it the first time. The first time my raid group went in there, we did beat Faust. Then we got into the Oppressor, which is the second part of A1 Savage, which was fun. I mean, just going in and seeing it was a lot of fun. But Faust, I died at the end because I was solo tanking. The other tank was a Dark Knight, and he was DPSing because he's a little bit better geared and he's more skilled on the Dark Knight, and I don't have that. I haven't mastered the DPS on the warrior yet, because that wasn't my role. My role was a tank, and that's what I did. So I don't know how to put out max DPS on a warrior. So, but that's that's what it was. It's so crazy to get in there and just have to push out everything that you could push out. I don't like
So what I'm
that.
hearing is new mechanics that people have to learn, lots of mechanics that people have to learn,
Ravana's
especially for
fine.
some fights like Ravana.
Ravana's fine.
I'm hearing that SD's forcing players who want to get into endgame Savage progression to be able to min-max their DPS. That's exactly what they should be doing.
No,
Well,
I don't
no,
think
it's
they
not
should do
so
that
much with,
for tanks and healers.
It's not so much with min-maxing, and like Maaja has said here, one of the big issues is they've got the fights so tightly tuned with their the DPS window for Ravana is very small to break the shield.
Short.
So small that tanks are foregoing proper mitigation to squeeze out their DPS. There's if you actually gear a tank how you're supposed to gear a tank, you can't crank out the DPS to help meet the requirements.
Yeah.
So
Right.
a lot of tanks, they're stacking strength on top of stacking slaying accessories, which it doesn't seem like it robs you of a lot, but that actually does take away quite a bit in terms of the parry you're losing,
yes,
the extra
yes.
vitality,
Yes.
accuracy, and whatnot. Stuff that you actually need to help mitigate the damage you're taking. For example, a proper in-game paladin, because their aggro is so low, is equipped with tanking gear on the right side, DPS gear on the left side, or
Yeah.
tanking gear on the left
Vice
side,
versa,
DPS
yeah.
gear on the right side. Yeah. And they only have I was raiding with one guy in Alexander the other night, and he only had 12,000 health.
Mm-hmm.
That's low.
Which is like what I've got
That
on my
is
bard right
low.
now.
That
Right.
is so low.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean that is scary low.
different gear
and-
sets for different fights. Don't players appreciate this? I certainly would. If I was a
second
tank, I
part-
would love to have
The
a
second,
strength.
the second part of A1, I hate to interrupt you, but I have to point this out.
It's okay.
The second part of
Uh-huh.
A1 Savage with the Oppressor fight, there's a tank buster, and you have to two-tank this because you have the Oppressor and the Oppressor .5. The tank buster hits for 25k. There's no getting around that. You can mitigate the damage with cooldowns, but you have to use so many of them at once. And if you have a paladin that goes in there with 12,000 HP, there's no surviving that. And then you have the oppressors come together, and then everybody dies, and then it's useless. So I mean,
All right.
right.
So what about this? What I'm hearing is that maybe it's not the fight itself. Maybe it's just that, I'm all for some fights making some jobs better, or some jobs standing out in a certain fight because of their utility or because what they can bring to the fight specifically that other jobs can't. It makes statics larger with more players, or at least it makes the players within a static better at different jobs. It gets them to branch out a little bit. It makes the game, frankly, a little bit more interesting than me going in and doing the exact same thing I do in every other fight and just looking out for the different forms of AoEs to avoid. Maybe it's not so much those specific fights, just that there aren't reverse fights where paladins who stack defensive gear are the sought after class for that, where other fights that kind of compensate for those fights that make warriors more desirable. There should be the next fight should make paladins more desirable. Wouldn't that make a better class? Wouldn't that make a better game? Wouldn't that make a better progression end game than just, well, let's water it down. Let's get rid of it. The DPS is too hard.
It would make it, I think, a lot more desirable and more fun if that were the way that they went with it. But right now, paladins have crap for aggro generation unless they completely stack strength on their right hand side, and then if they stack, that gives them, and it still doesn't even give them competitive DPS compared to the other two tanks either. And
this is one of those things that's up to the developer to come up with. They have done other fights, not endgame fights, but they've done other fights that you could argue could be endgame fights that would get for example, paladins. Are paladins the ones who can stack the most defense and mitigation out of the 3 tanks?
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So you put, I kind of assumed so because of all the skills, but I wanted to be sure. So you could get a paladin to stack all defensive gear and have a mechanic make it so that his lower aggro, his lower ability to gain aggro isn't an issue. They did that in the, what's that town dungeon where there's all the spores everywhere? I think it was the first boss had you killed the
Lost
little
City of Amdapor.
There it is, Lost City of Amdapor. You have a mechanic like that where the person who kills the very easy mob gains all of the aggro, and it still works. It still puts Paladin up in the showcase for this one fight. That's what I would like to see more of. I don't think there's anything wrong with what they're doing. In fact, I'm glad that they did it, at least for this. Maybe they get good at it and do it for other classes as well.
Right. And I agree that if they had, like, like these fights that, kind of like a every dog has their day kind of thing.
Yeah.
Where everyone, gets their chance to shine, that would be fantastic. I think where they have gone wrong, though, is with the damage that they have given some tanks over like their threat, and some healers have gotten over their healing. Like, to me, I think the aggro, what they should do is they should increase the aggro that a tank generates. Make it more so that, your initial aspect of your class is, why people want to bring you. They want to bring you as a tank because you're a good tank, not because you're a mediocre tank that actually does really great DPS.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
The thing about being a tank is you have to control the mobs. You have to get them to stay with you. And you're getting hit really hard all the time, especially in some of these higher level dungeons. You get hit really hard, and then you have healers who say, I think I'm going to DPS instead of heal. And then you get so close to death that your butt clenches up, and sometimes you even die. And it's like, healer, your job is to heal, not to DPS. Can we please get you healing? That is really annoying. That's
the mentality of DPS check fights, though. That's what's so great.
It isn't great in a dungeon
checks.
when you're trying to get through it because of the grind, and then you have, the party ends up wiping because the healer's not doing, or the tank's not doing their job. They're DPSing. That's where.
No, I don't. Yeah. I don't mean that. I don't mean someone not playing their role. I mean, in a DPS check, you've got tanks who can just. It's more difficult for them to get aggro. They've got to reduce their amount of aggro generation in favor of getting DPS, which means that the healers have a more difficult time to heal them because they're taking more damage, and the DPS has to just go balls to the wall trying to get this boss down before, the timer runs out. Everybody is so frustrated. Everybody has to kind of increase their skill at their job and to think just slightly out of the box. That's why I love DPS checks so much. There was a raid in WoW. The last raid of the first expansion was called Sunwell. Second boss was a notorious DPS check. He was nothing but a DPS check. And he was, frankly, the boss that most of the player base just couldn't beat. Just couldn't beat them. And that's kind of my love of Endgame. That's where it comes from. These challenges that most people can't beat. Not what we got with 2.0, which was that if you can't beat it, then we'll make it easier for you afterwards, and you can just kind of see what the story was and give you the echo and hold your hands and wipe your ass.
From, but it is changing the way people play the game, the regular part of the game, and people are not doing their roles. They're like, oh, well, I've been in A1 Savage, so I can just heal through this, and then you die. And you're like, well, no, you can't.
Right.
The thing about there's a lot of new tanks, too. A lot of players who were DPS and wanted to go Dark Knight as soon as it came out, so they've not had that experience being a proper tank. So it's going to take them some time to learn it, especially if the current content at endgame overemphasizes DPS. Maybe I agree that there shouldn't be, every fight shouldn't be a DPS check. Absolutely. There should be some that are focused on your skill moving around. There should be some focused on your skill working independently and as a group. There should be a variety. The reason why I'm kind of sticking by SC on this right now, even though they've overemphasized DPS in this initial salvo of endgame content, is because at least they're doing something finally.
Yeah.
At least finally they're doing something a little bit, I don't want to say different, but compared to what they've done before, it's a little bit different. Because before it was just, how good is your connectivity to the internet? How good is your latency? Can you see that AoE before you can physically move out of it? Because that was it. Think about dive bombs. Think about Titan's landslides. Even Ifrit sometimes. If you're experiencing a modicum of lag, you're done.
Right. I will say, system-wise, they are far more balanced than what they used to be. You don't have that, like with Titan Extreme, if you're not moving before you know you need to be moving, you're dead. They definitely don't have that anymore.
The end game where you needed to, frankly, the only thing you needed to learn in the old end game was how to predict the entire fight. Once you could do that, it is just face roll easy. Once you can predict exactly what's going to happen, then you could get through it. The dive bombs, I move out of the way as soon as this happens. I can pretty much count it on a timer. But a DPS check is like, all right, everybody go. And if one person can't do it, we're all fucked.
We had to adapt.
Right.
At least, because that was our first time in A1 Savage. I think we did really good considering, because we beat Faust the first time in there. But getting in there, we had to make certain adaptations to the way we were doing things. Like we started it with the duo tank. The Dark Knight was main tank, was off tanking. I was main tanking, and then we switched it up. And then we had the White Mage not healing because the Medica 2 was generating too much aggro. So the AST went and did the shields as, the scholar type thing. But it was, overall, it was interesting to learn how to get through it. But still, it's just, when you're used to being a tank that actually tanks and not a tank that DPSs, there's an adaptation factor that comes into play for me. And I'm like, okay, I got to learn this by next week. And in the end, it ended up that I was a solo tank. Dark Knight was putting out DPS, and the Astrologian was doing the main healing because of the threat of the White Mage taking aggro. Because I was pulling the ads too. I ran out of TP the first time. It was funny. I was like, we're gonna die. Because then I died. And then the healer died. I wasn't the only one that died at the end. I wasn't the only one that died at the end because Geek Matt was our Astrologian, and he was trying to kite the ads. So he died too, but then Faust died. So we were like, yeah. It was funny.
As the only person who I think has posted in the thread, Cyn, I will give you last word.
All right. Well, my last word is, I think I can appreciate DPS checks and difficult mechanics because I like being challenged as a player. What I don't like seeing is the exclusion of classes simply for the imbalanced output that they're looking at right now. Like Dark Knights and Warriors put out a crap ton of damage, whereas Paladin, really good tank, doesn't really put out a lot of damage. And I hate seeing that because there's some fights definitely where you want that Paladin there, like Ravana. Paladin makes Ravana fights so simple, but no one wants to bring it because of the low damage output that it has. And I think they just need to better balance the classes as far as what they're putting out if they are indeed going to go the route where everyone needs to chip in with DPS. That way you can kind of be able to appreciate the full mechanics and the full spectrum of classes in the game.
Just one more thought before you go. Do you really want to see that? Do you want to see all of the classes kind of not equal, but at least more equal in the different aspects of their role in a party? Like more defense for Dark Knight, more DPS for Paladin. Do you think that's the way that SE should go, or do you think that the different classes should have unique offerings?
I like the idea of the unique offerings. I actually do.
I think they should have their unique offerings, but the fights should be tuned that no matter what you bring, the fight is still doable.
I think that's
just like maybe more difficult. Yeah,
it's like two sides.
Maybe
of the same
it'll
coin.
be a little more. Yeah, it'll be a little more difficult if you bring setup A versus setup B, but it's not impossible.
Right.
All right.
I have to read something that Kami just posted in this thread that we're talking about. She quoted Rack, and it says, "Funny, huh? Tanks wearing full strength accessories thinking they're DPS, and DPS pulling aggro thinking they're tanks. You know what they say in Chinese? Rice smells better from the neighbors. Wives are better when they're not your own." And that cracked me up. I just had to share that because I just read it. She just posted it. It was hilarious.
I'm going to have to go outside and start saying that and see if someone can give me the translation.
That's
Wives are better when you're not your own.
Right.
Better not ask my wife about that one.
No. That was too great not to share it, though, because it was good.
All right. That was actually a pretty good hot topic. I've actually thought of like 3 different topics that we could have just gone on and on about. I'm really interested in hearing what our listeners think about this issue. It's a very divisive issue regarding endgame because so many players, so many Final Fantasy 14 players just aren't into endgame. They don't even seem interested in being in endgame. Whereas this other kind of smaller minority is really hardcore into endgame.
There's an in-between.
Whereas,
because I'm in that.
Yeah. Don't you think the in-between is the one that just waits for Echo?
No, I don't wait for Echo. I want to be in it, but sometimes it's hard to put together a group because you have so many of the people that you talked about on the first hand. There's too many people who are not interested in it, and it's hard to get a good group together of people that will commit to it.
Right.
That's
it doesn't
the
seem like
problem.
There's a lot of moderates. It's kind of like PvP that way.
Oh gosh, my friend Shipwrecker or Shipatori, as he is over on Brynhildr, I think he said it the best. He's never seen so many hardcore casuals in a game.
I know. They stalwartly defend their casualness. And if you are mid-core, like truly mid-core, if you're the person that wants to get into progression, but you're slow, because maybe you don't have a lot of time in game, then there's no mid-core game for you. You wait for Echo, and you do it with the casuals.
Right.
Because you just can't find 7 other mid-core players.
Well, it's I don't even think it's like the mid-core. Like it feels like because Savage is obviously like that is the in-game progression now. Because you go throughout, you can pug Alexander. It's Alexander Savage. You can't really pug.
Yeah.
And I think almost what they've done is they've kind of created that gap that World of Warcraft suffered from for a long time, where they had a limited rating player base, and then they excluded like a good chunk of their already limited base. Because like I know a lot of people that they want to actually push in-game progression, but they're just not quite able to meet like the very stringent checks that the game has in place. Yeah. So I think they're it's cool, it's fun, it's definitely innovative and challenging, and me and my group that I run with, we can appreciate it. But I also have some friends that I feel bad for them sitting on the sidelines because they just can't quite produce those numbers.
Yeah.
It would be like I couldn't even like reliably take them on a farming run because the numbers are just so tight. Like you have to just constantly be running with the best of the best. There's no leeway in there for that one guy that his heart and soul's there and he wants to do it, but he just can't quite get those numbers.
Yeah. I feel sorry for them.
And that's rather sad.
Well, no, not really. Not in this game because it gets easy.
Eventually.
Right.
Yeah,
Two
but
patches
some of those
down.
people who can't put up the numbers, they want to be doing it when it isn't so easy. You know, they want to try to figure out how to do it the best that they possibly can, you know?
Well, I hate to be a Generation X player and a Generation Y player base, but get good. I know I can't. I want to be a tank so bad. I want to. Not being able to tank kind of diminishes my content in this game. I can't tank only because of latency. I've got a computer that is amazing. It just eats up Final Fantasy XIV like cookies, but my connection sucks, so I can't tank. And I'm not going to bitch about it to SE so that they water down their game and make tanking easier just so I can play because I suck.
You don't suck. You just have a bad connection.
I don't suck. If you could see my screen, you would know how great I am.
Right.
But unfortunately, half of those button presses didn't actually communicate with the server. Anyways, we could go on and on, but I want all of our listeners, if you've got an opinion one way or the other about DPS checks and about how SE has approached currently the savage modes in the game. If you like it, if you don't like it, weigh in. The thread is called "Where Does Each Class Stand in 3.0 in General Discussion at the Realm," or let us know on the comments section. I'd love to hear what you think about this topic. We've got to move on because we've got a lot of stuff still to go over. So next we've got Featured at the Realm. This is something new that we have just added last episode, where we take a look at featured members, featured FCs, featured threads at the Realm, just to kind of give highlights to some of the best content, most interesting content, and some of the members of this awesome community that have really stood out. So without further ado, Featured at the Realm. This is a little bit of an ado as I go and check out the thread. There we go. All right. First of all, I want to give a big shout out to Geek Matt for starting these weekly poops. Have you guys been reading these weekly poops?
Yes, they're fantastic.
Someone pooped on Fybrile.
Someone pooped on Fybrile.
SE pooped on Fybrile.
One of the topics had my name in it. I had to stay out of it until I thought it was dead because I didn't want to seem egomaniacal.
Too late.
Well, like the SE pooped on Fybrile, that was actually what got me into like reading them. Because I was like, when I saw like Matt had posted that, I'm like, what? Poop? So I had to check it out.
He's got, I've seen kind of the back end. He's got so many good topics. I'm really looking forward to this. Mm-hmm. So Geek Matt's been starting what he calls perspective of online players, or the poop. He's putting out one every week, and he said he'd be doing it on Wednesdays. So there should be a new one out by the time this episode goes to air on Sunday. Currently, he's got one about duty finders and the kind of the minimum expectations you have of other party members and how you approach working together with other players of very different skill levels and duty finders. He's got one about the changes to Bard, of course. That's the one where SE pooped on me. And last but not least, the latest one that I urge all of you to go check out is called Poop Relinquishing the Throne. I just realized they all have poop twice in the name. The throne, like the toilet. I got it now, Geek Man. I saw what you did there.
Yeah, his puns.
He's really good at those.
Yes, he is. That's true.
So the latest poop is about essentially leading an FC, taking a break, and coming back, and it's led by someone else, right?
It's kind of about that, but also about being the leader that takes the break. You know, it's more than just it's more dynamic than just going and taking a break and coming back and finding that someone else has taken over. It's about the whole aspect. You know, if somebody else has to take over, are they going to let it die, or are they going to try to rebuild? You know, the leader who left, were they responsible and told the people, you know, I'm going to come back, but right now I can't? Are they, you know, it's more than just I'm taking a break and or a leader disappearing. But there's a lot of what ifs in this thread. What if this? What if that?
You take a break as a leader. Oftentimes, as the leader, especially in 14, the leaders do a lot to keep the community together. A lot of FCs are like these cults of personality where the leader is the FC and people are in the FC because of the leader. So when you take a break, that can be, that's a good thread.
Can be damaging, yes, I know firsthand. So I reply.
Every Wednesday, there's going to be a new poop. Head over to General Discussion now and poop at the realm. You also get just in case anybody cares about trophies over at the realm, you actually get a trophy for just participating in a poop thread. So by all means, head over. We plugged the monthly guide, so our featured guide is still the Ultimate Warrior Guide. That was written by Wild Bill, HD Max 01. I'm just going to say Wild Bill. Definitely head over and check out his awesome guide. If you are a warrior, if you're looking at getting into warrior, it seems to be the kind of the tank, or at least one of two tanks that you want these days. So if you don't have a warrior, go check it out. Our featured FC this month is... We didn't choose.
No, we didn't.
Tomberry War Machine, shameless plug. Woo!
In order to feature you have to be on the realm. Is your FC on the FC page?
No, it's not on the FC page.
Well, then disqualified.
You and your technicalities. I feel that being such a long-time member, I have, some kind of grandfathered in clause where any guild I'm a part of is awesome and can be featured.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Definitely. But no. You have to make your FC on the page. It's an index. Have you seen that index? It's awesome. I'm extremely proud of it.
I have flipped through that index once or twice, a long time ago when FCs were still new and forming. I haven't been to the new index.
Last month we got a lot. We've actually been getting a lot of FCs every month. Now we've got 52 FCs, 34 North American, 12 European. We've got a really healthy European community on this website, and 6 Japanese. So go make your FC to put on our index here so people can see just how many FCs are represented here at the Realm on Brynhildr. Currently there's 8, more than any other server.
I would be happy to, but it's not my FC, so I can't.
I'll do it anyways, just don't tell anybody.
Right?
It's just a picture and a placard.
Just a picture and a placard.
There actually are 2 people posted about being featured,
but
Chaos
right.
Martin doesn't give an FC name, so that makes it
right.
a little difficult to feature. So we could feature the Black Label Society this month.
That's why we didn't choose one. I forgot I started that post. Absolutely. Yes. Black Label Society. Do you want to do it for me, Maya?
Should I just read what she posted in here, Aisha?
Sure, but do it in a RP voice, because I know for a fact they're an RPFC over on Brynhildr.
How do I do it in an RP? I don't know how to roleplay. I don't roleplay.
What race are you in game? Are you still Rogadin?
Rogadin, yes.
What's the
right. Deep and rumbly, go.
Deep and rumbly. We are the Black Label Society.
That's
can't
perfect.
do that.
That's
a rank
perfect.
8 free company on the Brynhildr server that's based primarily on roleplay within Final Fantasy XIV. We are a close-knit and dedicated group of individuals who want to squeeze the maximum amount of enjoyment out of this game we all have come to love. We are also devoted to dispelling the stereotype of avid MMO role-players as being hopeless, sex-obsessed porn hounds who don't know how to play the game. While we are not hardcore progressionists, many of our members are capable endgamers, and we have more than one of the finest crafters and gatherers, including Janessa Cruz, one of the first Omnicrafters on our server. I believe she's 3rd or 4th in achieving this. While we are focused on roleplay, we are not limited to it. We also organize and participate in a number of social and raiding activities and have every intention of mastering airship exploration when 3.1 drops. And she goes on to say that they're accepting players of all skill levels and interests. And, if you're interested, about MMO roleplay or in general, please check out the website, blacklabelsociety.engine.com, or contact anyone in-game. And that you meet with the BLS tag.
You can also find out more and communicate with the members of Black Label Society in their FC page, in the Free Companies page over at the Realm. Just go over to the Brynhildr server. You'll see them. If you are on Brynhildr, you are interested in role-playing, or you just want to meet a group of really good players and nice people, by all means, we are extremely proud to feature Black Label Society, one of the first FCs on the FC page, as our featured FC this episode. Last but not least, why do I continuously close the show notes? Is it the featured member? Yes! Last but not least, our featured member today is a surprise. It's Cyn Romanace.
Surprise! It's me.
We had already, even just mentioning it in episode 18 show notes, we had several people already sign up to be our featured member. You were the first, so you're on here today. One of the oldest active members at the Realm. We have enough interest in featuring a member for the next 4 episodes, which I'm really ecstatic about.
So am I.
I feel I don't know. I feel like we know each other, but we don't know each other.
Exactly.
So this is a way for everybody to get to know you a little bit more about, Cyn. Are you ready?
Oh, God, yeah.
Do you want to start with saying any little bit about yourself or your character, or why you play this awesome game that we all love?
Oh, gosh. Let's see. I play Final Fantasy XIV because I am a long-time MMO player, and my very first MMO ever was Final Fantasy XI. And then it kind of sparked my love for MMOs, and I really jumped into, I just went crazy and branched out. I tried the old Elder Scrolls, Asheron's Call 2, not Elder Scrolls, EverQuest. There we go, Evercrack. I tried EverQuest, and pretty much every MMO that has ever come out I have played. The only exception being Vanguard. I never played Vanguard.
You play Age of Conan?
Oh, I played Age of Conan. I loved Age of Conan.
You really did then. Try every MMO out there.
I have tried every MMO out there. I have tanked in every single MMO I have ever played. So, if you ever wonder why I call myself a resident tank expert, because I have tanked in every MMO possible.
Nice.
Except Vanguard. Never played Vanguard.
So how did you originally find the Realm then?
I found the Realm on a passing whim. I was just flipping through Final Fantasy XIV information because I played Final Fantasy XIV at 1.0. I got out of it because it was kind of garbage. But I had heard that there had been some patches to it. And so I really, really wanted to, get back into it. I started looking for information. And then so I found the Realm Forum. And through the Realm Forum, I actually found out that Final Fantasy XIV was taken offline. And so I was really depressed because I thought this was just a bullshit, let's remember the good times forum. But then I also learned to hear that, it was relaunching as a Realm Reborn. So I got really jazzed for that. And then I joined. And that's that story.
All right. Question number 3. What's your favorite part of the Realm?
The fact that I have never ever been banned for, reaming crappy players.
Yes, I am extremely proud of that fact about the Realm. You can be mean. You just can't be overtly personal.
Right. Now, see, he says that, and I'm saying this, speaking to everyone who's listening. He says that you can't be personal. But if you ever read my posts, you can learn a great deal from me about how to be very snarky, very bitchy, but at the same time be very polite, and you can leave your victims thinking, what the fuck just happened to me? Right?
Yes. Have you and I ever disagreed? Maybe perhaps the two largest trolls. I don't know. Bizant. We've got a couple members right now trying to kind of take the crown from me as the most abrasive member of the realm after Ageless stepped down. Anyways, have you and I ever disagreed or debated something?
We have disagreed and debated. I think back in the beta phase testing, I remember there being a couple posts where we we traded trolls back and forth with each other, and I don't think there was any clear winner, but like I remember there being a very distinct moment where we finally were just like, okay, we agree with each other.
Aww. I don't know about you, but I really enjoy heated, intelligent debate.
I can appreciate intelligent debate. Like I will sit there and I will talk with Vi for like hours. Like we will, just kind of debate back and forth, like Dark Knight tanking. Like we both like hashed out like Dark Knight tanking like very in depthly. Mm-hmm. And so like when Nova Ultima kind of posted his stuff, that kind of like we got kind of abrasive and prickly with that.
Yeah, that one was borderline. What you have to do is you have to understand that speaking in the plural you isn't being personal, and what was his name? Roken in the beta forums and in the early days of Final Fantasy XIV 2.0, there was this notorious troll everywhere you went called Roken or Rokeen or Rokein. He probably doesn't play the game anymore. Probably never played the game. He was probably just a professional troll, but a troll nonetheless. Perfect player at getting everyone else on the forums banned except himself. Because he knew the secret. He knew that all you had to do was troll people, properly troll them, say things that are obviously going to incite nerd rage all across the forums. And as long as you don't talk about the other person specifically, you're fine. And that's what I hate about the official forums. They follow that. Roken was a troll, anyone can see it, but they never banned him. We banned him. He came here, we banned him. We banned him immediately. We banned him because of his notorious reputation, not because of anything he said. We let him have a couple of threads, but then we got tired of him and we banned him because we're like real human beings, these moderators. I love these moderators. They can read your posts, really understand the spirit of the post, and let you say something that might be considered offensive, so long as in the context of the greater discussion, that's an appropriate response. When you come out and say you're then you get, a warning, not a ban. It's a great part about the realm. Free speech.
Yes.
Amen. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on a rant there.
No, like, I want to add to that. I want to, kind of, reach out and say, Jamada, or J-Mata, however he says his name.
J-Mat.
Yeah, J-Mat.
J-Mat, he's my hero because I don't know how many times I have, like, just come out and told people, like, you're garbage, what you're talking about's garbage, you don't know what the you're doing. I don't think you know the class as well as you think you do, and you're a horrible person. So please just stop posting. And he hasn't slapped my hand. So thank you, J-Mat.
Yeah, J-Mat's great. Anyways, we went off on a tangent there again. I apologize. If you could change one aspect of Final Fantasy XIV, what would it be, Cyn?
The lack of open world PvP. Oh my god. I need to gank some people. I really do. And I need to take that giant great sword that I now have and that I covet, and I need to, just kind of, sorry for saying it, but I need to ram it up the backside of some unsuspecting crappy player and, just laugh as they fall over in their, pool of shame.
And speaking of which, if you could meet any NPC in real life, who would it be and what would you say or do to them?
Oh gosh. It's a fairly new NPC, okay? It would be Siguru? Mm-hmm. The last Dark Knight trainer for the Haven's Word arc of the Dark Knight story. He's just so at first he seems shallow, but then you actually find out there's a lot of character depth there, and he's not so much brooding as he is just an evil asshole. And I kind of admire the fact that he's an evil asshole that thinks that, it's all right to kill as long as it's for the greater good. Not because I condone killing people. That's wrong. But just like story-wise, he's so outside of the box in terms of like the characters you expect to encounter. Especially with, his moral outlook of, I will do whatever is necessary to actually accomplish what is right.
Mm-hmm.
Not, I will do right based on, the morals of everyone.
The ends justify the means.
Yeah. What I would say to him is I would probably look at him and, tell him, good job. And then I would hug him because he seems like he needs a hug. Like he has done so much for so many people and they have all just like shit on him that I think the guy he really needs a hug. Like he just needs someone, to hold him and say, you know what? You did right. You did a good job, buddy. And give him a pat on the back.
Then you hear that whoosh sound and he becomes a paladin. That's all I needed. All right. What is your greatest achievement in the game?
Oh, my greatest achievement in the game. I've done so much in the game, it's kind of hard to really pin down anything. I would say my greatest achievement so far is I explained to a group of people who had never been in Bismarck Extreme, that had never ever set foot into it. None of them had ever watched the video. I had watched the guide video, and it was my first time in it as well, and I explained to them how the fight would go. And apparently I was so good at explaining it that we one-shot it. It was everybody's first time. I told them what would happen, how to do it, what we would need to do, and where we would need to stand, and what people could expect. And it was a little shaky, but we actually cleared it without losing anyone.
Nice.
That's awesome.
What's the meanest thing you've done in game?
Oh, God.
It's time for shame. No.
Just wait till the train goes by.
Yeah.
All right.
The meanest thing I have ever done in game. Well, when I was on Adamantoise, there was a group of people that I had ran with a couple times in the Link Shell. And they were kind of notorious dicks, and they were really mean to, my friendship. And so I saw them doing a Titan Extreme Clear, and or not Extreme, but Titan Hard Mode, and they had the axe on reserve. And so I joined as my warrior, and they're like, the axe is on reserve, and I'm like, all right, that's fine. And so we went and we did the run, and the axe dropped. And I hit Mead, and I took the axe because the person who wanted it was the asshole who had been picking on my friend. And he said, you know what? You're a dick. That was on reserve. I said, yeah, it was. And I hit the reserve button. And walked away with my axe. Which I still have to this day because it's full of salty tears and goodness.
And last but not least, we're going to play a game of Marry, Kill with the Scions. All right. We're going to go with Minfilia, Alphanode, and Thancred. You have to pick one to marry, one to one to kill.
One to marry, one to and one to kill.
Do you know this game?
Yeah, I know the game. All right. I would marry Alphino. I would Thancred, and I would kill Minfilia.
What?
That's
That
awesome.
is a surprise answer.
That's
Mostly
awesome.
marry Alphanode. Really?
Yep,
A lifetime of that, right?
I would marry Alphino because he's rich and he comes from a very high class family with a lot of money. I would fuck Thancred because I think he's probably really good in bed. And I would
Yeah.
kill Minfilia
Bard.
because she's,
Annoying.
she's Minfilia.
All right. Yeah.
I agree
Fair enough.
with the
Those are
Thancred
good
thing.
answers. All right. Last but not least, do you have any FCs, websites, feeds you want to pimp out on the show?
Do I want to pimp them out? Oh, gosh, I don't know. Like, So I'm in this guild, Tonberry War Machine, and they're pretty decent folks. They're kind of like, I don't know, like mild RP or something, but they also want to do in-game progression rating. So if you're kind of into, kind of semi-casual RP and want to do progression rating, or you just want to be with a group of people that are rather mature and like-minded, and, kind of have these same drives and goals where they help each other out constantly from start to finish through the game, then check out TomberryWarMachine.com.
Wicked. And that's it. Thank you for coming on as our featured member.
Yes.
Enjoy the
Well,
trophy.
thanks for having me. Oh, I got a trophy. Awesome.
Good to
You will.
get to know you better,
Later.
for sure.
I like this part. I like getting to know members around the realm much
I do
better.
too.
And speaking of
Well.
which, another great way to do that is through the message board, which is next. We had so many people communicate with us about episode 18. It's been up for 2 weeks. We have about 200 listens. We have a thread, an announcement thread for episode 18 that's got 28 replies already, which is as I scroll down here, almost double any other episode. We had people give us advice for how to improve the show. We had people say how much they like the show. We had one guy that I want to give a shout out to before we get into his post. Excuse me. Pog Gene. Yeah, I got that one from memory. I can't even find the post right now. Pog Gene came on and said we're one of his favorite podcasts, and it is my personal mission to make it the favorite podcast very soon. Maybe not this episode. What do you guys think? Is this one the one that puts us over for Pod Gene, or do we need the full crew?
I think we'd probably need the full crew because that's
Yeah.
part of it, And
That sounds like a 5-man effort. But hopefully another episode that he enjoys. Pogjing and Recupery, we're going to take a couple of seconds to read messages they sent us over at the Realm Echo message board, which you can find in the Echo podcast category of the Realm. Maaja, do you want to start with Pogjing's message?
Sure. Do you want me to read the whole message or just answer the questions?
Let's start. Hold on a second. I'm desperately trying to find where I put it.
Why?
There we go.
Just go into the episode show notes.
I know I've got a couple with the same name. I've got one for Cyn that I didn't copy the messages for, so I've just been continuously clicking Cyn's private message and not ours. Yeah, do the whole thing.
Okay. During episode 18, it was mentioned there was not much feedback as of late due to no good reason. I figured it was time to speak up and say something. I like the podcast a lot. Among Final Fantasy XIV podcasts I listen to, State of the Realm, Limit Break Radio, Sequence Beak, or Break? Is that supposed to be?
Sequence Break, yeah.
Okay. Aetherite Radio, etc. The Echo is one of my top favorites. It does a good job of balancing an objective opinion with just the right amount of fanfare. I particularly enjoy the bloopers at the end of every episode, something none of the other podcasts do on the regular.
And we've got a lot at the end of this one, so stay tuned.
Yeah, there should be. For the next show, I was hoping you might answer the following. One question I did have was, why aren't episodes more frequent? And to answer that question, I think it's the conflicting schedules and the busyness in people's lives that have kept us from putting out more frequent episodes. But that's just an excuse. We're changing things. Anyway, on another note, in episode 18, everyone seemed to mention just going through the motions of capping, being bored, etc. What would it take SE adding to the game or changing in order to get you all that spark to play back?
Let's start with you, Cyn. What could SE add to this game that would get you really kind of enthusiastic about logging in every day?
Oh, gosh. I think more, kind of like not so much events, but just more stuff to do. I feel that the game itself, it's an amazing ride up through leveling if it's your first time. But once you hit the end game, there's nothing to do but grind currency. And that's not a bad thing, because I know, like, with the currency, it gives you, the choice of what do you want to get, not, grind a dungeon endlessly because you need a pair of gloves and the gloves just never drop. I think what it needs is just more to do overall, in terms of, like, just alternate ways to progress your gear. That would make it more exciting for me. So, like, if they actually had, like, daily quests that I could go beyond a 6 limit of, that would help get me raid gear, in addition to grinding the dungeons, grinding out the currency, grinding the raids, but also just like extra little quests that pop up every now and then that I could do, like random in-game quests that could
give us
award
a piece
me
of gear or something. Award
yeah.
a piece of gear or extra esoterics, whatever the farming currency is at the time. I get where you're coming from. I totally agree with you on that aspect.
I think that would get me a little more pumped up for logging in, because, like, right now I log in, I'm like, oh, time to grind those ESOs.
Yeah, I think everyone's like that.
Yes.
I'm totally with you. That was my solution as well, dailies. Slightly different reason. As I was running through each zone to go get through the level 50 storyline, I just realized how much I missed being in the real, quote-unquote, real world of Eorzea, rather than just sitting in a city-state or at the FC house waiting for Duty Finder to pop. There's nothing getting me out into the world. Even if I do gathering, it's kind of in these, I don't know, it's repetitive and it's not adventuresome. If I had daily quests that just got me into different zones, seeing different textures, that feeling of adventure would come back for me personally. Right. And it's also something that I can do solo. They made a solo MMO. We need more solo content right now. What about you, Maya? Got anything to add?
Well, I just agree with both of you. I mean, I don't think there's anything else you can add. If there was additional content to help grind for gear that was more in the world and doing things like that, more dailies like that, then that would, I think, solve the boredom issue. They don't even have to bring it in all the time, just like maybe once a week, have something pop once a week that's going to bring people there. And on random days, not the same day every week, so you don't know when it's going to pop up.
There you go, SC. There you go, Pog Jing. Dailies. Rack, what we're going to do is we're going to save your questions for the next episode, which will be coming out in the next 2 weeks. Because these are some really good questions that we'll definitely want to get into a little bit more thoroughly than we have time for right now. I apologize. Some of them are the same about open world content and things like that, and some of them are different. So these are good questions that I'm probably going to save. It might be our hot topic for the next episode if nothing major comes out in between. Thank you to everybody once again for all of the wonderful support you've given us over the last episode. We hope that you enjoyed this one as well. It is time for us to sign off, but first, Maya, you going to help me plug these things? Because clearly I'm very terrible at social networking.
I am probably just as terrible as you, but you can come and like us on Facebook, go to YouTube and subscribe, and like us also there. Go to Twitter, and I'm going to figure out some hashtags to get people interested in posting on the Twitter page, but I haven't yet. I was thinking about that last week, and I was like, eh. So we're found on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Like, subscribe, all that fun stuff, and then come to the realm and see us here too.
You guys can can find us all just with the Echo Podcast and all of these areas. Just search for that or add it to the URL, and you will find us.
Yes.
You can also see us on the Realms Facebook page. I've been plugging it everywhere. The Realms Facebook page is really taken off. We're still getting people liking us, even though we drop because people aren't playing the game or it's been around for a while. So we lose like 2 people a day, but we're still gaining members by the end of the month. So if you guys haven't liked us over on Facebook, definitely do so. Because we put a lot of news there that doesn't kind of appear on the website, just to give our Facebook followers a little something special. Anyways, that's it. Hope you guys like us. Hope you like the episode. Hope you have a great day doing whatever it is you're doing, playing in Eorzea or working in the real world or just waiting for your time to get back to Eorzea. I hope you...
Or taking a poop while you read the poops.
Yeah, taking a poop while you... You know what? Honestly,
That's good.
if you've ever pooped while reading the poop, please respond to the announcement thread. Let us know that you pooped. Honestly, I'll give you a new trophy. If you pooped while reading a poop, if you pooped in the real world while pooping on the realm, I'll give you a new one.
Oh gosh, what have I done?
That is
Of course,
a special
in order
trophy.
to get that trophy, you have to admit that you pooped while communicating on the forum. So maybe you won't get as many people responding to your future posts, but you'll still get that trophy. Are you guys ready to kind of wrap this one up?
Yes.
Gosh, I don't know. It's been so much fun. I kind of don't want to go.
It is fun, yes. It's always a good time.
We can definitely have you back. You've been great.
Yes, fantastic.
Been a real pleasure speaking with you, Cyn.
Well, it has been fun to finally put voices to avatars.
Yeah. Well, we kind of learned your voice. You would have known our voice for like the last 2 years if you just listened to it.
Right.
So.
Poke, prod.
All right.
Do me a favor. Just click on this one. Just click on it so that you can at least give it that listen number
You have to
when we post it out.
click
You
on
don't have to
it.
listen to it. Just click on
Listen,
it.
click on
I
it.
don't know. I have to be consistent, you know.
Click on it and pause it. Let it go to the end, and then backtrack a little bit so you can hear the mashup, because that's
You gotta watch the
an
mashup.
awesome part of the podcast. And you can do that with every one of them, because the mashups are usually the best part. The most fun part to listen to. The whole thing's, I think, all the podcasts are good, but the very end is the best part.
After the show, stay tuned for the mashup. It's got a lot of good stuff. I think, if I recall correctly, we had a lot of mess ups. Thank you to all of our listeners for listening. It's been a pleasure to do this on time. We're looking forward to hearing your feedback. And, yep, that's it. Goodbye.
See you later.
Skaters.
This episode brought to you by the Manderville Man doing whatever a Manderville man can. You're listening to the Echo, an FFXIV podcast, episode 19 for October 19th on Sunday. See now what that was? Okay, let me try it again.
I think
Now I sound like you,
October,
damn it.
October 18th, yeah.
October 18th, okay. You're listening to the Echo, an FFXIV podcast, episode 19. Stop it.
When you say it that
made me
fast, it
laugh.
sounds funny. Hello, everyone. Hi.
Yeah.
Should we just record a couple ones? How about we record a couple and then I can pick from them? Oh, hi. I didn't see you there. Welcome. Still can't see you.
Whatever you want to do, I'm down.
Hello, everyone. Hi. I'm trying different voices. I'll do the sword
killed
opening.
me.
Well, hello there.
That's a good one. I don't mind doing a poop.
Maaja, do you want to do the second sponsor plug there?
Sure. This episode brought to you by the Manderville Man
Episode.
doing... What?
Just, you said this episode.
This... Okay, I'm sorry. Here we
It's
go.
late. She has special needs now.
This episode...
brought to you by
Suddenly he's Gandhi.
This episode brought to you by the Manderville Man doing whatever a Manderville man can.
Oh, you sound so bored. You're a sponsor.
Should I get more excited?
That's it, you know.
Yeah,
pizzazz
this
in your
episode
voice.
is brought.
You just totally cut out. Did we lose the call? Damn it.